Oh, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition. Merely Bo, the Great Z.
I'm back, baby. Oh, baby. I am back.
How'd you do? How'd you do down there? You
Great
in South
time.
Florida?
Great time,
You're like DeSantis. You're king of Florida.
No.
That's the last couple weeks.
No.
Running things down there.
I wasn't running anything, but I was having a great time. In Lauderdale. It was awesome. Shout out to my boy, the cook, for setting it all up. But, yeah, we had a great time. Great weather was not great, as it sometimes is.
Which is a hell of a downer, right, with Florida. Like,
yeah.
It's tough.
Like
when that
gale force winds. It was kind of wild one of the days. Basically Saturday and Sunday were not great. We got some sun yesterday. Yeah. I was down Thursday, had beautiful weather Thursday and Friday. And
Did you play?
Right when Miss K came in, the weather was just like, nah. And all she wanted was the sun. She's very unhappy. But we had some unbelievable meals. And it was great.
So you had a Thursday night footloose and fancy free in South Florida?
Yeah.
Straight to South Beach?
No. I have. It's funny. I was talking to Miss K about it, but for me, going down to South Florida is almost like being here, because the majority of the people that I know in Cleveland were in South Florida because they have places in South Florida. So I got down there, and all of a sudden it was like, you're here. Yeah. So I ended up getting dinner with one of my buddies, and just kind of like, it was kind of like low key, because I could have gone. I had an opportunity to go, I think, a little wild but I would about a 40-minute drive, and I was like,
too much.
I'm not doing that.
There's a comedian who does a bit on new math that also does a bit that I just saw this week, which is very funny. If you have kids, the new math they teach, it's absolutely perfect. He had a bit that
it's ridiculous, by the way. I was a mathlete.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I wasn't, and he has a great line in it. He's like, and you're watching him do it, and you're like, wait a second, no, just do that. That's old math.
Just do this, and it's so much easier.
All this drop downs. It's a great bit, but I was.
There he is, the legend. There's special occasion only.
They can't every day.
Not every day. Special occasion.
Not every day. Special. Very special. Combine.
Special. Only special.
I
asked him. I want you to know that I did.
Special.
I reached out to him and I said,
"It's just a Tuesday."
Here's my big question.
Yeah.
What's with the tab on the back of the sweatshirt inside?
Yeah.
Well, Gibby, I'm glad you asked.
Red Mellon did not have an answer.
I do.
He does.
So it's, what is it? No
stitch, or every
stitch accounted for, or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, you know how Nike did collabs with Off-White?
Yeah.
So this was Nike's collab to try to give themselves like a fashion line of clothing. And this was the hoodie from that line that like is in the France runway shows and Fashion Week and stuff. So it's like they're like super duper absurd line. Yeah, for a hoodie. That's with nothing on it, by the way. Right. That was sold as a plain
If you will look
cream
at the
hoodie.
tag, it will say made in Milan.
Made in Milan. Yeah, it's made in Italy.
Yeah, as opposed to the rest normally when you pick up a hoodie.
So it's like, not only is it...
My hunch on what the functionality of the strap is that it doesn't creep up on you.
Never creeps up.
Pulls back. You can pull it back.
That's right.
It is not something that is needed in any way, but I think that's my hunch of what the functional part of it is. To your point on the 40-minute drive. So the bit is, when you're in your 20s, anyone can call you at any moment and you will go out. Say when, where, what do I need to do? I need to sell my house? Fine, I'll see. I'll be there. Where are we going? What are we doing? In the 30s, it's like, I think I'm going to take my own car.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take my own car here once you get to the 30s.
I can have my, I can leave if I want.
And by the time you get to the 40s, it's, I'm good. I don't think I'm not going 45 minutes for anything.
So it actually happened twice in one weekend, to the point of that I knew a lot of people down South Florida, so I was not alone in any way, shape, or form. On Sunday night, two of our great friends, Steve and Molly, who we love dearly, they flew in and they live up in Jupiter. So we were going to meet in Delray, which is about 45 for each of us, coming from Lauderdale and them from Jupiter. And we went to, on Sunday, and I would recommend this if you go down to, if you're in Lauderdale, Luno, which is like right on the beach. I think it's in the Westin. They have a $49 a person Sunday bottomless brunch.
That feels like a win.
That is all you can eat tacos. They had pastor on the spit. All you can eat tacos.
They're ready to go.
All you can drink margaritas, Bloody Marys, mimosas, whatever.
Fantastic.
Within a 2 hour, you have a 2 hour clock.
Well, they can't have you there all day.
Yeah.
They can't have you there all day.
2 hours.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we did that Sunday with my buddy Nash and his wife who were down there, and I was toast. And we were just like, look, there's no way that we can go anywhere. In fact, we got that last night. We got delivery food and just chilled and
you
need
need sometimes you need to.
The night before, a couple nights before, we had great meals. But
it's funny you say that. I always thought how this probably happened a couple of years ago. I was always in the point where it's like, man, I always sleep well when I hear the ocean. Like anytime we're on vacation at a beach, I think, well, a lot of it's probably the state of mind that you're in. Obviously, you're chill, whatever. So then I started putting it on an app.
Yeah.
On my phone, and I use it, and I've used it for the last couple of years to sleep. I'm out within 5 minutes.
Miss K does that too.
Done.
She likes waves and she likes rain.
Yeah, mine is waves and campfire.
Okay.
I have the app for when I'm on the road, but I bought a little machine that
There you
does
go.
it.
There you go. Got
It's
it.
on.
It's it. It's the way it's got to go.
Absolutely.
Hey, in the category of I believe we had that. We set the over/under on Pro Bowl ratings at 6.1 million. Is what we set it at.
Yep.
That was the over/under.
Yeah.
Did you see the actual Pro Bowl
I'm going to
ratings?
guess that it was 6.0.
6.2.
6.2. Yeah.
Nailed it. Yeah. So 6.7 million last year.
Pay attention to the scores.
It's all there. 6.7 million last year in a game. It was down to 6.2. I don't know how it's viewed as anything other than a wild success that 6.2 million people watched flag football interspersed with skills
pulling sleds
every half hour. Like 6.2 million people.
By the way,
just for some perspective.
Yeah.
So the Thursday night thing did just over 1 million on ESPN and all of that, which was beaten by the NBA. But one of the highest rated NBA game last Thursday was the Lakers game late Thursday night. It did like 1.6 or 1.7 million. That's an actual game that matters in the association featuring its biggest star, and it did 1.6, 1.7 million. This is a flag football game.
Not even on Thursday night, it wasn't.
No, well, the basketball did beat the Thursday thing.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like 1.6 million people watched an NBA regular season game. 6.2 watched a flag football game on a Sunday.
So if you add up all the ratings of all the days, it's
it
over
would have
10.
been 7.2 because
over 7. Okay.
Because it was a little over 1 on Thursday and then 6.1. So it would have been over 7 if you added the 2 days.
Yeah. By the way, a couple things, but one of my favorite things that came out of that, and I tuned in and watched a little bit. I saw the AFC outsmart the NFC on the thing where they had to pull the weights off the sled and then get it going. I thought that was very good. Joel and Wyatt. Joel was a star.
Joel to the surprise of nobody.
Nobody. Obviously, hope Miles is okay. But I love that
he tweeted it this morning. Yeah.
At the end of the game, have you seen the audio of Peyton?
Oh, he's not pleased.
Well, they're not allowed to run the ball.
Right.
It's a pet.
We live in a society.
The rule is you cannot run. Taking a knee is running. It's a running play.
Yeah, it was kind of like with the third grade officials when they were like, "Well, what type of defense do you want them to play?" And I said, "One that's legal,
one that's in the rules.
This sport.
Here are the rules.
These are the rules. These are what they can play. Play one of these.
Yeah, play.
Yeah.
So
no, you got to throw it. Yeah, you got to sling it. Yeah,
I thought that was great though because he was legit hot.
Well, I think losing to Eli is tough for him.
Makes him so mad
because you're Peyton Manning. You have the same amount of Super Bowls as him. And he twice vanquished your greatest adversary.
That's right.
So that's even though everybody knows you're better. You're
sure.
His Hall of Fame presenter was Bob Kravitz is his name. The guy he used to be at the Indy Star and now he's at a television station. Might be at the Athletic now. And his entire presentation for Peyton Manning, the Hall of Fame it's Peyton Manning, and he sat down, and that's it. Like that's him, and yet. Your little brother, who's less than you in every single way, kind of has that thing on you in that he was great in 2 runs to the Super Bowl. He was superb in both Super Bowl games, and he beat your greatest nemesis twice in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Like he has more memorable Super Bowls by far.
Oh, yeah.
And the same amount total.
Total, yeah. It's wild. It was funny.
I think it is for Peyton. I think it's a little personal.
Well, and the AFC had been dominating everything leading up to it, but somehow came up on the short end because of that last flag football game. Real quick.
Yep.
I had one of the great meals of my life while we were on this trip.
All right.
Place called Takato, which was at our hotel. By the way, our hotel was also the official hotel of the NHL All-Star Game, which I did not realize was in Fort Lauderdale this past weekend.
By the looks of the crowd, I'm not sure they did either.
Yeah, I can't imagine that there were a lot of people.
Yeah.
Around our hotel, though, it was buzzing. I ran into a bunch of guys who played in the NHL and had no idea, obviously, who they were. Sidney Crosby, I did not see. He was maybe the only one I'd recognize because he was on the poster.
You'd recognize Ovechkin, I bet. Alexander Ovechkin.
Does he played for the Capitals back in the day?
Still does.
Oh, yeah, still does.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's second time in goals scored.
Yeah. Okay.
He might catch Gretzky.
I'd recognize him.
Yeah.
But it was a big thing. Anyway, that was going on at our hotel. But our hotel also had this restaurant, Tocado, and it is maybe my favorite way to eat is kind of Asian fusion tapas.
Okay.
I don't know that I could like it anymore. This place had
a bunch of little stuff just coming your way.
Yeah, so
different
we had
plates, little tastes.
Little damachi jalapeno, some of the standard things, a little tuna on crispy rice, delightful. But then they hit us with the best thing I've ever had was a duck bao bun.
I don't even know what that is.
It was a fresh bao bun taco shell, basically.
Okay.
That was so pillowy and delightful, and then inside it had duck and this unbelievable sauce. It was one of the best things I've ever eaten. I got one for dessert as well.
Just ran it back.
Like I said when we talked, fine. You want
Bring
one?
one in. Fine.
I'll get one for dessert. Had that. They had a short rib kimchi taco.
Yep.
That was unreal, and then Wagyu gyoza that were perfectly steamed with just the bottom crispy, and they were sublime. But you could have, if we just basically ordered everything on the top half of the menu, but the bottom half had they had A5 Wagyu, they had sea bass, you could get anything you wanted basically at this place, and then they had all this fun stuff, and they had a whole sushi menu too.
I think that is something that we don't do enough of is stay in the top half and have a bunch of little fun things.
Kayla and I do that a lot.
I like that.
We'll do that, and sometimes
it's a good choice.
Sometimes we end up not getting an entree at all, or sometimes we'll just end up splitting one entree.
Yeah.
But in this case, nary an entree was ordered. It was about 8 individual little plates. Just an absolute delight.
That is a delight. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. The number, back to the number for a second. This validates all of it.
To the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Validates all of it. So this is what it's going to look like. It'll look like this.
I'll tell you what, I thought it was fun, the things that I watched.
Yeah.
I was entertained by it. You get to see their personalities, which is fun.
Yeah.
Nobody was really at risk, it didn't feel like, which was good. I will say that the trying to turn the amazing catch into the dunk contest doesn't work.
The amazing catch was the biggest fail of it.
It was awful.
Like the stage nonsense.
It was embarrassing.
That was an embarrassment.
And Michael Vick couldn't throw the ball where they wanted him to.
Well, neither could Leinert or Clausen. And then they had the golf thing was terrible too. They had 4 guys who didn't know how to play, who had never played golf before.
Our guy Jordan Poyer hit a bomb.
He did hit a bomb, but that was awful.
Yeah.
And you have to have, the other thing I would say is you need a master of ceremonies who is funny.
Yes.
To oversee all of it.
Yeah.
You can have, McAfee should have been the color guy to somebody's A guy who was setting him up.
Yeah, he was
play-by-play, and then because Herbie, they brought nothing.
Why was he there?
I have no clue. I don't have any idea. Maybe the trip to Vegas.
I mean, for him, I'm sure he got paid handsomely. A treat for him.
Yeah, got really taken care of.
He's been putting some. I feel like he's not been putting spots that accentuate his strengths this year.
No, but the checks are cashing.
I'm envious of the checks.
The checks are nice.
He's doing really well. No, you're right. It validates everything. But to your point, the NHL had its All-Star weekend going on the very same weekend.
Nothing.
If I didn't stay in a hotel that was literally plastered with everything that said NHL All-Star Week, I would have had no idea. And even being there, it didn't compel me to watch any of their coverage or anything like that.
The NHL is to the extreme of where baseball is headed, where they are sports that were once part of a Big Four that are now sports that you only care about if you are in the market. There is no crossover market to market, region, nothing. If you have a team in your city, there is a section of people who care about it vehemently. But if you do not, then you don't. And there's no caring about another team in another market. This isn't some outlandish statement. This is the fact. This is where the ratings are going.
God,
you just follow it. Baseball, hockey, it's just.
Hockey was a much bigger deal when we were young. It felt like anyway.
We weren't inundated with so much stuff. So there were 4 things that you paid attention to in sports, and then you paid attention to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And that's
World Cup, yeah.
Yeah. But even that I don't remember until 94. I don't remember the 1990 World Cup. I have no point of reference on that.
And I would say Was that the one in the U.S.?
The 94 was in the U.S. That's the
Yeah.
first one that I remember watching.
Sure, same.
Was that?
Yeah.
And
then
but yeah,
golf,
that's pretty true.
And that's it.
Yeah, majors, but I don't know
Yeah.
that it was like, I don't remember like people. Yeah, boxing was huge, but in terms of like a daily something,
right.
something you cared about daily, and you have to also remember that our view of sport was viewed through Sports Illustrated,
Yep.
Sport Magazine, and Sports Center.
Yep.
And so
They
they
cover
covered those things.
Yep.
They covered football, basketball, hockey, and baseball.
And while Madden was a big video game when we were younger, it wasn't like
now.
the behemoth that it is. And the NHL games were great. And I think a lot of people our age knew, like I could
Ronick
name
and all that. Yeah.
I could name maybe 50 people that were in NHLPA 93, 94, or whatever it was, and name Sidney Crosby, and you just said Ovechkin.
Yeah.
Today.
So I think you're right. Good point. I think 93, 94, those NHL games on Sega were similar to what happened with soccer with the FIFA games in the early 2000s, where those games were windows into a sport.
Totally.
And then you started following because the games were so much fun to play.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like there's Tecmo Bowl, which by the way, people, even Homage, my guys at Homage messed this up today. They were saying, we got to do Tecmo Bowl. And it's like actually Super Tecmo Bowl is the one that you want.
Every team.
Every team's in Super Tecmo Bowl. There's only like
8 teams.
Yeah, there's no teams in it.
And there's
only
like
4
4
plays. The other one has 8 plays. The other one accumulated stats over the course of the year. The one you want is Super Tecmo Bowl.
Yes.
Bo's in both. Bo Jackson's in both.
Super
Correct.
Tecmo
But
Bowl
Super Tecmo Bowl is the one that you want to play.
It's like King Kong compared to Tecmo Bowl.
It's such a game changer.
Super Tecmo Bowl and highly underrated, didn't get enough pub, but one of my favorite games, Tecmo Basketball. They
Tecmo
had
basketball was
every
amazing. Every player. I had
82
that.
games,
double
it was
dribble.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, so you were used to playing double dribble, then all of a sudden Tecmo basketball, and you went, oh my gosh, I can play
I
with
can
real
be with
guys.
Jordan. I can be
Yeah.
Mark Price on the Cavs, who never missed from anywhere.
That was a
on the
great
floor.
game. That was a great
The best
game.
was when they got into, what was it like? What was the first one? Lakers versus Celtics? The first EA one?
Was that Bird, Jordan versus Bird?
No, that was like the
that was a
one-on-one.
PC,
That was
and then-
PC game.
Yeah.
There was the first when they got to the point that it might have been like Bulls Blazers, that one, whatever one where Tom Chambers could double pump from the 3-point line and dunk on everybody. He's the greatest.
I think
he
that's
might be
super.
the greatest.
I think that's Tecmo basketball. Super
no, it was
Tecmo
an
basketball.
EA game because I never had that because I always had Segas.
It was oh no, it did go.
It's
It was a
Nintendo.
Nintendo. Yeah. Yeah, there was one that happened. There was an NBA one that happened on the Sega Genesis, I think. Well, certainly
It wasn't an
Genesis.
NBA Jam, was it?
No, it was a 5-on-5 game. Yeah,
I double dribble
No, it
was
was a
awesome.
real
but
game.
double dribble was great. Yeah,
I mean, that's right now for the NHL. For me, it's the playoffs.
It was in.
yeah, I agree.
All right.
And that's only if you can That's one of those things where you got to get on at the right time.
Yep.
You know.
Tom Chambers' signature dunk. It was in Lakers versus Celtics.
Okay.
The first game in EA's NBA playoff series, the forerunner to NBA Live, Lakers versus Celtics, had signature moves for various star players. Kareem had the skyhook, Jordan had the Jordan jam. Chambers' dunk was the most deadly weapon in the game. He may not be mentioned all that often these days, but old school basketball gamers will definitely remember Tom Chambers for his aerial assault. He would.
What year was this like? What year is the game?
I mean, that's what the game looks like. We're talking.
Oh yeah.
We're
Yeah, I
talking
remember
like
that. Yep.
early
90s, probably,
late
yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
And he would go
Yeah.
boom from anywhere. From anywhere. He
won the MVP of the All-Star game in like '87, playing for the Sonics. Was in the
this
dunk
was
contest.
Sonics. It was Sonics. This may have been the Suns. Tom Chambers. Is
Yeah,
where they had
he
it.
went to the Suns after he was with the
Let's see,
Sonics.
I'm gonna look this
so.
up. Lakers versus.
Yeah, that seems to be about right. It is, by the way, yesterday was Super Bowl Media Day, so we'll have a little fun recollecting. I've been to several of those. It's an absolute circus. We'll get into that a little bit as the show goes along. Did you forget to give me a year on it?
1991 for the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, okay. There you go. We've got positional breakdown, the linebacker position, a little bit of higher, lower, better, or worse as well. Before we get to all that, though, Browns fans, today through midnight on Thursday, head to NFL.com/FedEx, NFL's official Twitter handle. For the NFL mobile app, to cast your vote for Nick Chubb as the FedEx Ground Player of the Year, the 2022 FedEx Aaron Ground NFL Players of the Year will be announced during the NFL Honors on February 9th. We're off and running here. Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Valley Bet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Pleased to be joined in studio. Offensive quality control coach Ashton Grant in studio with us. In 2022, Bill Willis, diversity coaching fellow Israel Woolfork in studio with us as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time. Israel, let's start with you, because when I see Bill Willis's name in front of anything, I certainly take notice. What has that meant to you to have that position, to understand the full scope of everything Mr. Willis represented and the opportunity that's been here for you this year?
It's been a blessing and a unique opportunity. When I got this job, we got to meet the Willis, his sons, this year at the Hall of Fame when we went down there to practice, and that was just an eye-opening experience. And I didn't know too much about the Forgotten Four before I came to Cleveland. So hearing them talk, hearing them the backstory about their journey to the NFL and what they had to endure and the different things they had to overcome was really amazing. I'm glad to represent him and his family and his legacy that he's had with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, not bad. Bill Walsh, then Bill Willis. That's pretty good.
Yeah, good. And I appreciate Andrew Berry, the Haslam's, JW, and obviously Coach Stefanski for letting me get these opportunities and them bringing me here. So it's been an awesome 18 months getting to work for the Cleveland Browns.
It certainly has. And Ashton, you've been here for a while as well. Joined the team in 2020 as the first recipient of the Bill Willis Coaching Fellowship. You've been here for a while now, as we said, going into this will be your fourth season here. Undefeated in these games. Not that. Sorry about that. But you guys both, the reason are here, you guys got back from the Senior Bowl. What was that kind of experience like for you? You were at the Shrine game last year, but to get to go to the Senior Bowl down in Mobile and then come out with a dub over your buddy here.
I think just getting a head start on this evaluation process is awesome. And you get a different insight that you normally wouldn't get, because you get to go into the meeting rooms with the guys. You get to see how they learn, what's best for them, and then how do they apply what they learn in the meeting rooms to the field. So you get like a different type of scope. I know when scouts go and visit guys in the fall, they're only allowed to watch the games. And then after the Senior Bowl game is just a bunch of T-shirt workouts. So to see them play their last live football game and represent their colleges for the last time is a pretty unique experience.
What is that like just from you think about how wild this process is when it comes to identifying players that you're going to draft, or whether it be through free agency or whatnot. It's a process that starts months and months in advance, our scouting department. But now we're into that season, right? Yeah. Combine at the end of the month. You got guys who are trying to make their name, trying to get noticed. What did you see from approach standpoint? And you've done it a couple of times. What are some things that you look for right away in terms of nothing specific in terms? Don't give any house secrets, but just in terms of like things that you're interested in from an approach standpoint from a prospect.
Well, I want to see first how important the game of football is to them, because these senior game stuff, it's invite, but it's voluntary for them. They're not getting paid, but they're just trying to go out and put their best foot forward and showcase what they can do for all 32 teams. So one, I want to see how important football is to them, and secondly, what I want to see is how can they do in that type of environment. I mean, they're up at 5 in the morning. They're doing interviews with all 32 teams. We're jam-packing an install with them. So how can they overcome adversity? How quickly can they learn and actually go onto the field and mesh it all together? So it's a jam-packed couple of days, and we just want to see how they respond to that type of stuff.
Yeah.
You played receiver in college, right?
Yes, I did.
You played receiver in college as well. You worked with the receivers. You worked with the quarterbacks here at this one. No, maybe the Browns are looking at a receiver. You never know in this draft. As receivers yourselves, what do you look for in somebody that's going to make it to this level and then excel at this level as a Cleveland Brown?
I think first it starts with just being a competitor. I think if you don't like to compete, I think you get exposed in the NFL. I think this is the best of the best, and it's 1% of the world and the athletes. So obviously competition is one. And just
what does that mean to you to be a competitor? Like, what is that? Well, how do they communicate that to you? Is it like how much they hate losing? Is it
physical, or is it
I think it's all the above. Obviously, you can tell someone likes to compete if they like to hop up in drills. You can tell someone likes to compete if they take extra time learning the offense. You can tell someone likes to compete if they make a mistake, they're back the next day trying to correct it. Just everything's important to them in the little details of what it takes to be a great player.
Yeah.
I think that's a competitor to me. When things aren't looking good, they don't make excuses. They find a way to make it work. When they don't feel good, when the play's not exactly the way we're drawn up to have success against, and they find a way to make it work. I think that's a competitor in my eyes.
Yeah. And what for you?
I think just doubling down on what Izzy said, that, And then just the ability to create separation. How do you get open? Can you do it at the line of scrimmage? Can you do it at the top of the route? So I think those are the two things you want. You want a dog out there, a guy who can win on third down when the game's on the line. And you want a guy who can get open, who you can trust, because sometimes the scheme doesn't always work. We know the league is about scheme, but it's also about players. So I need a guy who can win.
And then they got to catch it.
Yes,
right.
sure.
We say it's a really given, right? But there have been guys who have made this level because they have unbelievable gifts, and then unfortunately they just don't catch the ball.
Yeah.
Well, that's I would think that's a really hard thing, and it's such an exact science because this is the time of year where you fall in love with measurables.
Yeah.
Right? And so how do you balance measurables with tape?
Yeah. I think for me, like, catching the ball is a prerequisite, and what weighs the most is what they put on game tape. I was with Patrick Graham. He was our head coach down at the Senior Bowl, and he emphasized to those guys, like, what you put on tape is your resume at this point. At this point, it's just interviews, but who you are is what you've done on the football field, and that's what's going to weigh the heaviest. So that's why the Senior Bowl is so important because, again, it's not a test in T-shirts and shorts. It's a test with a helmet on, the bullets are flying, and we're trying to win. Yeah. So I think that's how we look at it as coaches.
So it's just like an outside observer. One of the things that I love about the Senior Bowl and when they show the practices, there's a ton of one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Like a ton of one-on-ones. You're both smiling. I wish there were more one-on-ones in training camp. You know, it was fun when the Eagles came to town and you do. Like, I love that. You talk about seeing if guys compete. You see it in one-on-ones. You see, okay, maybe this guy doesn't run fast on us, but he's constantly getting past everybody. You know, you can see those things. What do you guys think about one-on-ones just in general? Is it a safety thing that we don't do more one-on-ones? Because I love it. Like, that's what I get the most excited for. The day in camp when they put pads on, they do real one-on-ones. I love that stuff.
We do a good job, I think, of getting one-on-ones in practice situations. You may not have just one individual against one individual, but we may rep. Like, it's going to be a heavy man period, and that's where you kind of get your one-on-ones built into what we're doing. So I think Kevin does a really good job of just positioning those things in practice while we continue to develop on the rest of the game.
Do love watching those, though. I mean, you were with the quarterbacks. I'm sure the quarterbacks love it. Then it's like you can evaluate where they can put the ball. Can they throw a guy open if he doesn't create separation himself? Like, I like that stuff.
Yeah, it does. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the reason I love one-on-ones is because you get to test these players in fire. When it's one-on-one, it's like everybody in the stadium is looking at two guys. It's mano-y-mano. And so now when I get to the games on Sunday, I've seen this guy win before, you know, with all eyes on him when the ball's coming his way. So that's why I like repping it as much as possible.
Yeah, I think sometimes why you love the one-on-ones, you love the compete, you love the tape, you love all of that, and then the combine happens, and sometimes it feels like it's all thrown out the damn window.
Oh, my God.
We were doing the show. I'll never forget this, and DK Metcalf is – like doing he did the bench and did 1,000 or something like that. Who knows what it was, but he just walked by and you just went, my God, that's a dude. I don't know let's not overthink it. And then he ran a cone drill and they were like, oh, he's slower than Tom Brady in the cone. And I remember thinking, we were doing the show live and I'm like, who the hell is going to ever have him run a cone in a game? Yeah.
Right.
Like, can you stop him going straight? No, you can't. So how does that happen? How does something where somebody who played at the highest level, and just use him, he's non-Brown, just a guy in the league, who played at the highest level in the SEC against the best corners, physically has everything, but then was dominant, and then it gets overthought.
Yeah, I think it's recency bias. It's just like that's what he's done latest, and that's what people have to talk about. Like if he were to go out and have a ton of catches in a game, that's what people are going to talk about. But now, since it's the offseason, it's the combine, and guys are preparing for that, it's just what he's done the most recently, and we get lost in that because that's the newest information that we have. But I don't think you can ever steer away from what he's done on the football field.
I think you got to look at it, too, as like a sliding scale because I think each receiver is completely different. You look at a Hunter Renfrow, who is he's not going to blow you away at the test. But you watch his tape, he understands leverage, he understands how to get open, he uses angles like his quickness. It may not be his straight line speed, but then you got some genetic freaks like DK who can't change direction as good as a Hunter. So on his tape, you see more vertical pressure on what he's doing. So then his strength numbers are super important in his 40 because you're talking about straight line speed and how strong he is to be able to fight through contact because he's not going to create separation with that stuff happening. So I think you got to – it's kind of a balance of testing, but then also watching one-on-ones too, because a guy may not show it physically from the combine drills, but show it in one-on-one settings because his change of direction and understanding how to beat DB's leverage is important.
Both the guys you just mentioned, though, have the tape. They both had the tape. Hunter Renfrow caught the pass in the national championship game from Deshaun Watson. Like,
and
the
he
tape
was still drafted.
It was all there.
He was still drafted, what, third?
Ish.
Fourth?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but
Cooper
it was
Kupp
like
won the Triple Crown. Won the Triple Crown.
Yeah, like sometimes it's there, and I think it's paralysis. What is it? Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So
Well, I think you need all of it in a room, right?
Yeah, you got to weight it, right?
You need guys, though, that can be shifty and create separation in the interior. You need some big guys that can go vertically, or maybe not big, but have the speed that stretches it vertically, which creates the space for your operators in the middle. You need it's not. You wouldn't want 5 DK Metcalfs in a receiver room. I mean, although maybe you would.
They're all different guys.
Okay, right.
I just think what I'm always curious about is how it goes, how misses happen, right? Because you guys, there's so much data. There's so much film. There's so much data. There's all of the underwear Olympic stuff. There's a one-on-one stuff. All this stuff you have, and then it comes time on draft night, and you look back and you go, man, what happened here? How do you miss on this guy, that guy? I'm just fascinated by that.
I would say it's hard, really hard. And the first thing that you said was, I want to know how much football matters to them.
Yeah.
You're going to get guys who have unbelievable talent. I've been here for a decade with this team. We have drafted some really talented people in the first round. Justin Gilbert, from a physical skill set standpoint as a quarterback, was everything you wanted. 6'2", long, could cut, could run. He wasn't interested in football. And so he was out of the league before his rookie contract was over. And I think that's probably the hardest part. Like, do they want to play video games? Or do they want to dedicate their lives to the mastery of this craft to be truly great? And I think assessing that, I think, is probably very hard, because in those interviews they're coached to say what they're supposed to say, right? It's funny, though. One of the things I like to ask our guys is, do you like winning more than you hate losing? And in my mind, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but in my mind, I can't stand losing. I don't have the gifts to be where these people are, but like losing, I could win 1,000 times in a row. If I lose 1,001 first game, I'm sick, like disgusted, need to play again. Some people, like, they're just not wired that way, but they're going to tell you in the interviews that, but you won't find out until they're here and you see the way that, when I don't have some success, do I kind of shrink back because, well, now if I'm not giving it my all, then I can't really say I didn't succeed, And I think that's probably the hardest part of evaluating, in addition to the talent, obviously.
Yeah, it's the intangibles, and the way you do that, you have to have great relationships with the people that these players were brought up with. I mean, you got to talk to their college coaches, high school coaches, and
give me the
because it's a lot of investment that you can miss out on. So it's an important process for sure.
Are you guys surprised as now coming in? You guys played. You've come into this that kind of on that mental side of it, right? Everybody in the NFL's got talent. They got something they can do that's special. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. There are some that have incredible talent. Match that with the incredible work ethic, like Joe Thomas, who should be going in the Hall of Fame first ballot. You get something really, really special. How did you know that there was going to be so much kind of, one of the things when I've talked to a lot of coaches is just like the mental massaging that has to go on week to week, day to day with a lot of these 20-year-old millionaires who are trying to figure out what they really want to do with themselves in this game.
I'll let you take that one.
I think I'll say it's a balance. It goes back to like what's important. And I think it kind of plays itself out over time. You see what guys saying here extra. You see what guys are fixing mistakes. Like, everyone's going to mess things up. Like, when we practice, every play is not perfect. Sure. So we go in, we make corrections, we figure out how to fix it, we figure out a better way to run a play, a better technique to coach, whether it's us from the coaching side or players fixing like what we're coaching. And then if you continue to make the same mistakes over and over again, or you're not learning or you're not comprehending, I think that kind of shows how important something is to you. Like, we don't expect anybody to be perfect out there.
Sure.
And it's just time management too. Like, what are you using your time for? We all get like the same 24 hours and what we put into it. And I think that's also important. Like, it's good to be in the community and doing things. It's also good to spend time with your family, have some social time. But what's your profession? What do you get paid to do? And if that's becoming the issue, we got to find a way to balance out time so you can continue to do your job well and continue to perform on the field. I think that's important.
For sure.
It's something that I know, like the closest big program here obviously is Ohio State. And I think about, like, they do this thing, Real Life Wednesdays, where they prepare the guys for what it's going to be like when you get to the league. And it feels like more and more of these big college programs are doing it. Do you see that going all the way, siphoning all the way through various levels as well, where guys are coming in more ready for what it means to truly be a pro?
Yeah, I think so. And just because there's so many options now, there's so many different avenues to create a life for your family and yourself. So I think the more programs that can prepare these guys, because it is kind of a shell shock. I was a guy that came from a D2 school, and just to hear what was going on at this level, like with the agencies and the different avenues to make money, and then you have to perform every single Sunday or none of those avenues will open up for you. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and I think the more college programs can provide that to their athletes, the better all the athletes will be, and the easier the transition will be, because that's where you get caught up a lot. You hear guys hitting that rookie wall because they're not used to all this for this amount of time. So I think the more you can get those guys prepared for it, the better.
I think they got to know who they are too. Like, this is hard.
Yeah.
Like, it was when I got here in April. Like, it shocked me how much time the coach is spending here. Like, I coached college football for 9 years. You think you're working hard. I think there's an extra level to this. Like I said, it's like getting a PhD in football. And as long as you know who you are as a person and have self-realization of weaknesses and what you need to work on, and if the kids have good people around them, I think they won't have an issue transitioning. But it's the guys who think they are something that they're not really.
Yeah.
And they have a reality check when they get here and they realize everyone's good, everyone's fast, everyone's strong. And if you don't know what you're doing or you're not confident, it can be an issue.
There's no more scholarships. There's no more like
that's the Urban line, right? Like Urban had that line when it went bad in Jacksonville, where he goes, "Look, this is just football." It's like, I mean, he was used to, like, I got to go recruit, I got to do all this. Like, well, there's none of that. No, I mean, this is just football. That's all we're doing.
But they're grown men trying to feed their families and take care of, like, it's a whole different ballgame. So you worked with the quarterbacks. You worked with Drew Petzing. You were with the quarterbacks, obviously, at the Senior Bowl as well. Take us through just kind of what is something that you would be contributing, like, to that room, kind of your day-to-day. What are you helping Coach Petzing do? What are you working on? What are the things, and what was maybe a big win that you had at some point during the season?
Our daily week is I'm in charge of the breakdown, so knowing the defenses, any questions that they may have, I help Coach Van Pelt with the blitz pickup packages and that.
How fun is that?
It's awesome. The scouting report, we work on that, and then just drills and setting up and just being the extra pair of eyes for just the little details. Drew may have me zero in on something that he wants Deshaun to fix, or when Jacoby was playing here, something to fix. Could be footwork, could be depth in a pocket, because we practice a million things going on. And Drew's maybe looking at his eyes and where his coverage, and I'm focusing on the lower. It's like, hey, he landed at 10 yards in his drop. He's a little deep here. He was off balance. So those little things that he asked me kind of zero in, and I'll kind of help him out with that stuff.
So you probably had was this your first year with the quarterbacks?
Yeah, first year.
Probably as unique a situation as you could have maybe in the NFL, right? In what you guys dealt with. Well, give us, without giving away too many secrets, a peek into that room, what it was like, the grace of Jacoby, who was just unbelievable. Knowing Deshaun's coming in, then trying to have a guy get ready to play after not having played for 700 days. And you mentioned the drops. You could see the first week his drops were all over the place. They were like 30 yards, not really, but they're 12 yards, 5 yards. He didn't know where he was going, and seeing that improve over the 6 weeks. But what was that kind of whole experience like, and seeing, a guy like Jacoby handle it the way that he did?
I'm pretty lucky because in that room I have Drew, who's an excellent coach. We have Alex Van Pelt, who's a great coach, and then Kevin comes in and spends a lot of time. And then we're all four of us are in that meeting room. Starting off with just that quarterback room I got here in April, I had 3 vets with Deshaun, Jacoby, and Josh Dobbs. Yeah. And you talk about 3 intelligent human beings, 3 guys who play at a high level their whole career, and 3 guys who are great human beings. So learning the offense with those guys, and then that whole process of going from OTAs, mandatory minicamp, and the fall camp, I got to kind of experience the growth of, like, learning the offense, signals, footwork, because everyone was starting at ground zero.
Yeah, it's the whole new room.
The new room. So I got really lucky. So, but just constant pros. I think how to show up work every day. Jacoby was a great example of how to be a leader in the locker room. I thought Deshaun did a good job of going through what he went through, continue to show up here every day with a smile on his face. You wouldn't know that anything was on his mind.
Sure. And
just him being a constant competitor, and he did whatever it took for the team to have success, and he was all on board. And that was supporting Jacoby. That was helping Jacoby get ready to play, and that was Jacoby helping Deshaun when Deshaun came back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a constant pro, I think, and being a good teammate. So I learned a lot from those guys.
Yeah, but that was a pretty special experience. No doubt.
Lots going on there.
And you were with the tight ends this year.
Yeah. Masterclass, running backs, receivers, tight ends. You've done it all the last couple of years.
TC was a quarterback coach and has been around the league, so you kind of had that perspective as well. So you're ready for the offense now. Just got to get there with Coach Callahan.
Yeah, Coach Callahan, that'll be a fun room to be in. Coach Callahan gets those guys, right?
A little more of a tough love approach than some of the other rooms that you're in. But what was that like for you working with the tight ends and the Chief coming back and having that big year that he did?
Man, it was awesome. Just getting into a different room, I got to dive down more into the run game. I think when I was in the running back room, it was more focused on protections and learning that and just the footwork. But you aren't really involved in exactly what the scheme is up front. You just know what your reads are. And then moving to the receiver room was more so about the pass game. So moving into the tight end room, it's like a mixture of both. You're involved in the protections. You're really involved in the run and the pass game. So just seeing all of it kind of come together into one, it was pretty neat to be in that room. And then just working with those guys, Njoku, Harrison Bryant. We had Jesse James for a little bit. Yeah. We had Pharaoh Brown. We had some rookies, Zaire, practice squad, Miller. And just to see all those guys.
Zaire's a big dude.
Zaire's huge. I think he was made in a factory. I'm not
It's
gonna
a
lie.
big yeah.
But just seeing those guys like work together, like how they bounce ideas off, it's a very collaborative room. We talk about routes, how we're going to marry stems up. So just seeing all those guys work together is pretty awesome.
This was awesome having you guys in here.
Yeah,
thanks.
We should do it more.
Yeah, absolutely. Ashton, Israel, great stuff. Great stuff. Continue great work, boys. Really appreciate you guys. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. There's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns to help your favorite four-legged companion, Barking Backers, presented by Milkbone, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, a fan club for dogs, as we go around the NFL. Steve Wilks just landed the job, going to land with the 49ers.
That does not surprise me, honestly. I think that Steve Wilks showed when he was here. I liked him very much.
Yeah.
He was tremendous in Carolina. He's always had great defenses. You know, he got the chance to be the head coach of Arizona, I want to say, because of the strength of his defense. Only 1 year there, but it felt like that was
the Rosen year into Kingsbury, Kyler.
It kind of felt like he didn't get really what we'd call a fair shake there. But
he was here with Freddie, right? Was it the Freddie staff with Wilks?
It was
just the 1 year,
It
right?
was the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Freddie's year. It was Freddie's year, right? Because Greg was out.
Think about it. Think about who the coordinators were. Like Monken, legit, and Wilks.
Yeah, Monken, Wilks. Kyle was here.
I'm just in the last couple of years, though. Is
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
sure.
Like, they were, because Monken, did he end up going to the Bucs or did he stay at Georgia?
He just had a second interview with the Ravens.
He interviewed, but there's been no further movement.
Yeah, I was curious. I'm sure he's just sick of recruiting, but he's done probably as good a job as any coordinator's done in college football the last couple of years at Georgia.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was a great guy. I thoroughly
he was
enjoyed our
fun.
time with
I
Todd
liked him.
Monken. That's a great place for Wilks to land.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great to be able to get somebody like that after you lose DeMeco Ryans. It just shows that the belief people have obviously in Kyle and they'll want to be a part of that with him.
Well, what I think is to me it looks like there's nothing that would stop Kyle from being the coach of the 49ers for another decade. So if you're Wilks, be the defensive coordinator for Kyle Shanahan for the next decade, live in the Bay Area, have a great life.
Yeah. And he's done very well for himself. Very nice guy, very smart guy, has a tremendous presence about him, and he runs he's got a four-man front defense, so that he ran very effective. Look at Brian Burns and what he did in Carolina, how good their defense was a year ago. And so he's got an opportunity. He's going to take that, and I think that'll be seamless for them. I like it. I like it a lot. I think
Joe Woods to the Saints happened yesterday.
Joe Woods to the Saints. Congrats to him.
Great man. Good dude.
Let me tell you something. And social media is not real, but so many people were out there dogging on Joe Woods, and I would say that I find that to be erroneous and ridiculous. Joe Woods obviously has a good scheme. Our defense from week 7 on this year was one of the best in the league. Our defense 2 years ago was, if our offense was good, we go to the playoffs, was top 5 in the league. Mm-hmm. Was this the best season we ever had? No. Do I personally, this is me, do I hold coaches accountable for players making absurd mental mistakes? No. At some point where I would hold them accountable is you got to just bench the people, right? You got to say the accountability's got to go. If you do this, you can't play. Mm-hmm. So no, regardless of where we drafted you, regardless of all that, you can't play. So I think it's a tough situation. But Joe Woods is a good defensive coach, and the fact that he got a job immediately after this is because people in the NFL watch it, know his tape, and he's reunited with Dennis Allen. They were together with the Raiders, and Dennis Allen knows good defensive coaches.
Yep.
So we brought in Joe Woods. And now that's a situation, my guess, is where he's the defensive coordinator, like you could say that Todd Monken was the offensive coordinator, like AVP is the offensive coordinator here. It's going to be Dennis Allen's defense. That's why he's the head coach of the Saints.
Yeah, it's a Bieniemy thing.
But
yeah, right.
He's a good coach, and they wanted to make sure that, obviously they brought him into the fold there. So I'm happy for him. He'll be reunited with, not reunited, but with former Brown Demario Davis, and I think that'll be a good spot for him. So happy for Joe Woods.
Broncos officially introduced Sean Payton yesterday. The most noteworthy thing is, I don't know if he was unaware of Russell Wilson's setup with Denver. It seemed like it based on
a question after the presser. There was a gaggle following
and was asked about Russell Wilson's personal quarterback and a bunch of hangers-on. I guess Russ had his own office in the facility, among other things. And Peyton said, that's foreign to me. That's not going to take place. I'm unfamiliar with it. Our staff will be here. Our players will be here, and that will be it. It was a pretty straightforward answer. I think he was honestly really shocked by the question. Is that if you listen to it, it doesn't – he's not answering it emphatically well, that ain't going to happen.
Right.
He's more for answering it from the perspective, I'm unaware of that or what that was, and that's not how we're going to do it. It was almost like he was unaware of the circumstances that Russell Wilson had last year in Denver. Is the way I read it.
Yeah, he probably – look, Nathaniel Hackett didn't have the call to –
Got to have call.
Got to have call. I called yesterday.
I got called today. I'll call tomorrow. Yeah.
He doesn't have call. Sean Payton's got call. Sean Payton's going to be like, no.
Yep. And that's it.
That's
Problem
it.
solved. There's not probably another coach that they would have hired that would have had that type of call.
Correct.
For Russell Wilson. But
Correct.
Sean Payton will. And if he can play to 80% of the level Drew Brees played for the last 5 or 6 years he was in New Orleans, then they'll be very, very successful.
Very good.
The Vikings have hired Steelers linebacker coach and senior defensive assistant Brian Flores as their new defensive coordinator. He was actually up as a finalist in Arizona and pulled out of that to take this job as D coordinator with the Vikings. That's a nice spot.
I'll tell you what.
Good staff.
Kevin O'Connell, and
Nice
Flores, I like that setup that they've got there. And maybe it's going to be a rebuild on that defense, but that's where they're going to put their focus this offseason. Offensively, they're in a good spot.
Yep.
And I think that's a team that, maybe with this hire, this is a team that maybe is going to be better than perhaps we thought.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so too. I like it a lot. From the Super Bowl, the Chiefs have activated Clyde Edwards-Helaire from the injured reserve and placed McCole Hardman on IR. So there's an adjustment on that.
He's not going to play.
No,
Pacheco and McKinnon are going to play.
No.
He's not going to play.
No. L'Jarius Sneed also said yesterday he's cleared concussion
That's
protocol. Juju Smith-Schuster gets $1 million Chiefs bonus if the Chiefs win, and he plays 50% of the snaps. The corner one is a big one.
Sneed's huge. It's number one corner.
I'll tell you, from the Eagles' perspective, they played this entire year. They never played a quarterback even in the vicinity of this. Like it's Dan Dimes, it's Prescott. Like they didn't play one of the big AFC quarterbacks.
This will
be new for their secondary.
And nobody's played a defensive line like the Eagles. The Chiefs certainly have not played anybody that resembles them. So that's the chess match. Can they give Mahomes enough time? Because Bradbury and Slay are two excellent corners. Gardner Johnson plays 6 picks this year. He's played great. So it's a good back end, and it's a dominant front.
Yeah. So going to be a fun one. Super Bowl Media Day was yesterday.
Yeah.
You guys have been to these, right? The Super Bowl
I have never been to a Super Bowl.
I've been to one, and I was like, this is insane. And I did.
It was the only place where you could run into someone who works at a website that has 500 hits a week, and then turn around and run into Giselle.
Yep.
Like it just doesn't make sense. The humanities that there, there's no other circumstance where the cross section would be that way. It always blew. I was at 5 of them. It always blew my mind, like how Chris Berman would walk in with a mic and just shove people out of the way and go right to the front of the dais.
Yeah.
And do whatever he wanted. Like you could be in the middle of something, it didn't matter. Like he was taking a mic and he was going to the front and he was going to go get Tom Brady and you're going to sit and watch until he's done, then he'll leave.
Kind of how Irv is doing it now.
Is Irv doing that
before that?
Yeah. So Berman did that. One of the other things I always looked forward to was the TV Azteca Telemundo reporters.
Oh yeah.
In terms of the attire. Like they went viral before there was a such thing as viral.
Sure.
And I was at the one where the one wore a wedding dress and asked Tom Brady to marry her. That was something I certainly looked forward to.
Shoot or shoot, brother.
They got to.
Shoot or shoot.
The other thing that I thought was very cool was there's a LA TV radio personality named Vic the Brick. You aware of this guy?
Mm-mm.
He's fantastic. So his shtick is he dresses like a Viking.
Okay.
So he's got a horned helmet, the thing.
Thank God this is not at the Combine.
Why isn't he Vic the Viking?
I have no idea. But he's Vic the Brick. It's great. It's a great outfit. And the first time I saw him, I'm like, what's this shtick? And apparently that's like the shtick always. Like that's
Does
the
he ask
operation.
good questions?
Yeah, he's like does legitimate. Yeah, he was on a national show. I want to say with remember like Pat O'Brien from like CBS and Access Hollywood.
Yeah.
He did a national show with him at one point. Crazy. And they used to. Do they still broadcast it live? NFL
it was on NFL Network last night.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
good.
weird because with it being on the West Coast, nothing started till like 8 o'clock last night, 9 o'clock, and it went till midnight. I was long gone by
work. Yeah, look at this guy. Look at Vic the Brick. He's
great.
Operation. Yeah,
That's great.
Some guy asked Jalen Hurts, or some guy said to Jalen Hurts last night, I never thought you'd be playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I saw this.
And he said, well, a lot of people didn't. And then the guy promptly said, I'm sorry, I was one of those people. And promptly apologized. And Hurts was like, cool.
Yeah, thanks, I guess. My favorite one was the one to Sirianni where the guy goes, is this a must-win? And Sirianni goes, yeah.
It is.
As it turns out, it is.
What do you think?
There's no more else to go.
Yeah.
This is the way that it goes.
He's 70 years old, Vic the Brick.
Yeah. Icon.
living his best life as a Viking.
He's been on
Graduate of Cornell, started his broadcasting in Guam in 1979.
Yep. He's great. And that's the outfit every time you see him. I'm sure he's there now. Radio Row had a ton of people. I know RBS is there. I saw it looked like Radio Row.
So it's interesting. I noticed as of yesterday, and yesterday was like the first day, and it's early. Mm-hmm. Like today it'll start amping up. Tomorrow through Friday is just a madhouse. But I guess there were more like social media platforms there than there were actual radio stations.
I believe that to be true.
Surprised me.
I think that's the transition that's taken place. I do think one thing that's happened with the sports betting, that a lot of those are incentivizing shows to go on the road in their name. So, right, especially in our state, there's a lot of that's going on right now. So we'll see. But it's a long week, man. You cover a Super Bowl.
Oh my!
It's a long.
You're exhausted
week.
by the time the game's there. You're like, get me out of here.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot by the time you're done. All right, coming up next, our positional. You have a quick one?
No, I'll do it when we come back.
All right. Our positional breakdowns can center on the linebacker position.
Oh, man.
Second hour coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, we continue our offseason positional breakdowns at the linebacker position, and I have to tell you, I was unaware of how few we have that are on the roster and locked in and ready to go. Tony Fields and Tay Davis.
No, not even. We had to correct Gibby on that.
Gibby's not even right on that.
No, just Tony Fields.
Just Tony Fields.
And then Story Jackson and Sam Kamara are on reserve future deals. Those are the only three. And then you've got Phillips and Owusu Koromoa. So
who are reserved, yeah.
They're injured. But, like, going into next year, they will be healthy. So you'll have under contract JOK, Jacob Phillips, and Tony Fields, who played well for you this year.
Yeah.
But that's it.
That's it.
So,
other than that, everybody else a free agent. Ragland, who came in at the end of the year and played well. Deion Jones, Jermaine Carter, Kunashik, Taki, and Anthony Walker Jr., all free agents, my friend.
All free
to get
agents.
sorted out here.
So a ton to get sorted out because you're going to need. We had 5 or 6 linebackers active every game.
Yeah.
And right now we have 3. Story Jackson, Sam Kamara. I mean, maybe they become that 6th linebacker, but that's really what you're looking at there. And Sam Kamara is more of a pass rusher, really, anyway. Ragland came in. He played very well for you, former second-round pick. He's a veteran, and I thought he made an immediate impact. He's bigger than our other linebackers, at like 250, 260. He had 14 tackles in his 4 games. Deion Jones, I thought, played very good football for you. 2.5 sacks. He had a forced fumble. He had an interception, 3 passes defensed, and he had 44 tackles in 11 games, 5 starts for you. Also a former second-round pick, former Pro Bowler. Jermaine Carter came in and played kind of like a little bit at the end. He's another big guy. He's about 250, 260. He had 16 tackles in 7 games. Kunashik is a special teams ace. They love him here. He had 22 tackles on the season. And then there's Tak, who 71 tackles on the year. Sione Taki finished the season 3rd in tackles for the Cleveland Browns with 71. He had a sack. He had a forced fumble in the game against Cincinnati in just 12 games. So Tak was on pace to be your leading tackler or close to it with Delpit and John Johnson. I love him. Guy wants to be a Brown. I see him here every day working his butt off. You want to bring him back. And then Anthony Walker Jr. is great and also wants to be back. And Anthony Walker Jr. in 3 games was looking like one of the best linebackers in the league. In those 3 games, he had 13 tackles. He had 4 tackles for loss, 2 passes defensed, and was one of the highest graded linebackers in the National Football League. So you've got 4 guys that are worth really all 6 of these guys are worth bringing back on some level, but, Ragland, Deion Jones, Taki, and Walker, and then Kunashik for special teams, there's a lot to sort out there because you're likely only going to bring back 1 or 2 of them. You could bring back Kunashik and 2 others if you wanted to and basically kind of run the room back, or you're probably going to draft somebody, is my guess, to get that, cheaper labor, as it were, in that room. But, Taki, Walker, Ragland, Deion Jones, you probably want 1 or 2 of those guys back for sure. The question is who? Unfortunately, the reality is you can't count on Jacob Phillips. Jacob Phillips played really well. 7 games, 46 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks. He had a pass defense and was looking like the guy you wanted. He's got the size, he's got the look, all of that. But in 3 seasons, he's played 20 games.
We had him Thursday. We were down at UH. For the big announcement, and he was the guy who came in, and I talked to him for, 15, 20 minutes, and said he's feeling great and all of it. And anytime we get a chance to talk to Jacob, we're like, he's the best. It's great. And when he's on the field, he's great. It's the best. But just bad, dumb injury luck that he just hasn't been able to get over.
20 games.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And I asked him, like, do you feel snake bit, by all of this? And he's in the mental part of it. It wears on you, man, what he's had to go through.
So he's been in the league in 2 of the 17-game seasons. So he's played 20 out of 50 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's what it feels like.
That's 40%.
Yeah. So the availability part is a problem there. I think the one that's going to be interesting is JOK started the year when Anthony Walker was here on a level that was just different. Yep. And you could feel it when Walker went out. There was a step back for him. And that is going to be this is a big year for him going into his 3rd year in the league because he has traits that are certainly very, very special. You just need the consistency to be there all the time. And you need him to be able to be availability too. That's the other part of it.
So he's played 25 of 34 games in his career, played in 14 games his first season, just 11 this year. but he makes plays in 11 games, 70 tackles, 7 tackles for a loss, 2 forced fumbles, 4 passes defensed. But he's got to get bigger. He's got to put some weight on. 220 pounds, it's not going to work now. And that ties into what this team needs to do up front, which is get some big guys in the middle of this defense to eat up blocks. You know, we've heard Daron Payne's name. Draymond Jones, the former Ohio State Buckeye, who's in Denver.
Yeah, Tyvis talked about that yesterday, both in terms of our positional needs of Jones, and then he actually mentioned Paris Campbell too. Actually, 2 former Buckeyes, 2 former Northeast Ohio guys. Paris a speedster too, but for him, it's availability.
It's the same. Right.
Got to be able to play.
You want somebody that can come in here and that you feel like has done it, right? I mean, Paris Campbell has been in the league now for 4 seasons. He has 980 yards. Now, this was his best year, 623, but he averaged 9 yards a catch. Played all the games, which was good. Before that, he played 7, 2, and 6.
Yeah, it's not available.
No, not available. 15 games in his first 3 seasons in the league. So, yeah, a lot of talent there, sure. Maybe you kick the tires on him. That's something our front office has done, really. He's kind of looked at guys that had high athletic pedigrees. But JOK, he's got it all. He has everything you want. You just need him to stay healthy. And I think part of that is getting guys in front of him that allow him to float and fly to the ball and not be – taking on linemen at the second level. But sometimes you got to take on linemen. And he's a very talented guy. We've got a lot of guys on our D that are very talented and have flashed great talent, and especially in this linebacker room, but we need it consistent. We need them to stay healthy. I mean, to get 20 games out of Jacob Phillips in 3 years is just brutal.
Yeah, it is. Gibby wants one word to describe the Browns linebacker play this past season. Unavailable?
Injured.
Yeah, just not – wasn't there the way that you expected to be in any way. Just so many injuries.
You went into it with last year your top 4 linebackers being Walker, Phillips, Taki, and JOK. And you felt good about that. That's a talented group. You got Jacob Phillips for 7 games. You got Taki for 12 games, Owusu-Koramoah for 11 games, and Anthony Walker for 3. So 12, 11, 7, and 3. So that's 10, 21, 33 out of 17 times 4, 68.
68, yeah.
So you didn't even get 58% of those games played. Now, Tony Fields, he did a good job for you. He had the pick 6 against Houston. He had a forced fumble. He had 48 tackles on the season and actually showed something for you, and he gave you all 17 games. But to get 33 out of 68 games from your top 4 linebackers, stunning. They were snake bitten last year, and unfortunately, part of that, I think, when Anthony Walker went out, it really affected our run defense. It affected a lot of things on our defense.
Yeah, and the next one is, how do you expect the linebackers to look under Jim Schwartz next season? Well, historically, Schwartz has those big bodies in the middle of his defense that allow for the linebackers to run free and make plays and make tackles. That's the objective.
The ball.
So that's something that's going to have to be in roster construction. These guys have the ability to do that, but you have to have it up front so that they're able to.
You're exactly right about that, and that's ultimately what, for this team, what it's going to be all about, right? It's going to be about, can you get those defensive tackles? Can the linebackers then fly to the ball? Can we play that more aggressive freestyle, and can they stay healthy? And if the answer is yes, great. If not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's and it leads to which linebacker needs to step up most. It's a JOK and Jacob Phillips are the two. They both need to. They need to be available. They got to be ready to go, and they need to make impact. And they were both drafted in a decent spot, and thought that they would be, kind of the big parts of this defense going forward for a very long time. It was JOK felt like theft when we drafted him, and so he needs
and
to
he's
be able.
That.
And he's certainly shown it, but he's got to be available and play all the time. And I think you're right on the weight thing. I think it's 220 is
so.
Tough.
If you're 220,
yeah,
by your week 8, you're 210.
Yeah,
if that. I'm 210. I have no business being out there. I get killed.
Yeah, not gonna work.
I mean, 215 for crying out loud at times.
It's not gonna work.
Not gonna work. No.
I just did see that. Did we just sign somebody, a defensive tackle, on a futures deal?
It wouldn't surprise me. It looked like you just walked
like
right by.
Just was right here.
It looks like you walked right by right now.
Michael Dumfour to reserves futures contact, DWUM Four.
Okay.
Most recently.
Originally in his second season out of Rutgers.
Okay.
Entered the
There he
NFL
goes, right
after
there.
signing with the Jets as an undrafted free agent in 2021. Appeared in
nice
12
Jordans
career
on.
games.
Sixes.
Sixes, black and red.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go. All right, so there you have it. You want to talk about Arian Foster, so we'll do that.
Yeah.
We also have Maurice Jones-Drew ranking all 75 starting running backs, so we'll have a little fun with that. We'll do a higher-lower coming up a little bit later. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Fans, mark your calendars. Face Off on the Lake, presented by Meyer. The first major outdoor hockey game at First Energy. It's February 18th. The Buckeyes and Wolverines at First Energy. Tickets on sale now, starting at $12. For more information, visit firstenergystadium.com/faceoff or call 440-891-5050. Arian Foster, was it last week?
It was last week, yeah.
You were out when this when he was doing this. I gave it like it was such an absurd thing to like say out loud.
I mean, it's craziness.
Yeah.
Is what it is. It's complete and total craziness. It was in my mind, Arian Foster, basically the way that I read it and interpreted it and talked to other people about it, but he basically said that they get a script that lines out, and PFT commenter was like, so you're saying in week 4 you're going to score 3 touchdowns. How'd you remember that?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I was excited about week 4, scoring 3 touchdowns. Anyway.
It's kind of like Kyrie with the flat earth stuff.
It's
so just so ridiculous that,
it's so ridiculous, but it has led to so many funny memes of people reading the script, and even Myles Garrett kind of played into it when he said, he tweeted out a picture of himself and goes, me reading the script for the Pro Bowl games.
Mm-hmm. He had fun with it.
Yeah, because, he's going to get hurt, and he's like, huh, what? But there have been some great ones. Really good. By the way, what's up with your boy Brady? What's up with your boy Brady? What's he doing? 80 for Brady? Is he posting some weird pics and
somebody told
underwear?
Me yeah, but someone said yesterday that was photoshopped, that it wasn't actually him, and now he's having fun with it today and saying, I'll recreate all of these, I guess all of the model pics or something.
So it was an AI?
He said something he was like something, I need 40,000 likes.
Okay.
If I get 40,000 likes, I continue to be amazed that someone of his accomplishment is spending a Tuesday morning on Twitter. And I think of the same thing when I see Elon Musk respond to somebody complaining about something on Twitter, and I'm just thinking you're running 3 companies, dude.
I think this is real.
Yeah, somebody said that it was photoshopped yesterday, though. I mean,
he said, "Did I do it right?" to Edelman, Gronk, and @BradyBrand.
But no, that's the response. Yesterday it came out not from him.
Okay.
Yeah, there was someone. ESPN was someone from ESPN was reporting. We think it's photoshopped.
Somebody had it yesterday, and the thinking was that it was photoshopped. So I don't know if he's now just doing the Photoshop. I have no idea.
No, that is his answer. So what he was saying, 40 likes, and he would recreate these Brady brand pictures, which were these.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
No, but this is what he did.
No. That's yesterday.
Yeah.
That's before any of the I'll recreate. That's not a response. This stuff is today. That original image came out yesterday morning, and that image, there were people that said it was photoshopped yesterday. Now he's having fun with it today. Does that make sense?
What you're saying makes sense, but I'm just going off of the
because
way
that's a stream of him. He now redid it today. The tweet you just showed is one from today.
Right.
So that original one is from yesterday. This is the most newsworthy thing that came of this. There's 2 big things that came out of Brady in the last 24 hours.
Okay.
Number 1, he is not going to call games in 2023.
Right.
So that's the most important thing. He's not going to call games until 2024. And I said this yesterday. I think there's a decent chance that he doesn't do the broadcast booth, that he doesn't do the A-team. I think there's a decent chance that he goes with a video production component similar to what Manning did with ESPN, that he goes in another route. As opposed to doing that. And Fox is still going to get their $375 million because they're paying for the association.
Correct.
The other thing he did is on his podcast, Let's Go, he had Belichick on.
Yes.
Oh.
So Belichick was on his podcast and said, greatest
Got
player.
Pretty emotional.
Very emotional. He said, greatest player, greatest teammate, greatest winner, greatest player in NFL history. They kind of had their mea culpa, him and Belichick. And one of the writers there said there's 0 chance of that. There's too much bad blood. So this appears to be amending of that. So those were the 2 things that were really noteworthy.
Was Jim Gray a part of that?
I don't know that part. I only heard Brady talking to Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't need him.
I'm not listening to the whole podcast. I listened to the 2 I listened to their exchange.
But Gray was not a part of their exchange.
He was not.
That's what I mean.
No,
okay.
no. So that was.
Nor did he need to be.
So that was pretty good. The other thing that was interesting over the weekend, where in terms of NFL quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers just continued to really jerk it up to Packers fans. So on Friday, he was like, I'm not going to the 49ers. He's under contract for $60 million to play to the Packers next year. And then Amanda Bellionis interviews him Sunday after his round, where apparently his playing opponents complained that he cheated. The guy, Josh Allen, and the pro that Keith Mitchell, I think, is who Josh Allen was playing with. Mitchell said post-round, if Rodgers' handicap is nonsense, and if he wins, I consider that we won. And you can read into that what you want. It felt like he was kind of legitimately bothered by it.
Well, what he was saying, saying that he's a sandbagger. Saying
Correct.
He's better than his handicap.
He's much better than his handicap, and that he basically cheated with that his handicap's nonsense.
Correct.
So there was that, and then post-round, Ballionis interviewed him, and she said, she started asking about like his situation. He goes, I'm hearing a lot of Raiders out here in the fairway.
I watched that. I saw that.
Come
Devontae
on,
misses
man.
you.
Really? Like, why would you nuke Green Bay? Even if you don't like whatever you don't like it feels like they tried to do everything for you the last couple of years. Like, why do you got to nuke them?
It feels like
Brother, they paid Randall Cobb, for God's sakes. Like, what do you need?
He needs some type of validation from. I don't know.
I guess.
What it is.
I mean, maybe he's just trying to make him mad enough that everybody wants nothing to do with him, so that way you're not feeling bad when he goes somewhere else.
I have no
Maybe
idea.
it's a little
I just don't know why.
psychology.
Like, it was awkward when Favre left there.
He's following in the exact same footsteps.
Yeah, it's very, very strange why they do all of that. Go ahead, Mr. Zagura.
Just a quick little hop in as well from the sports world that leads to something that you and I love to talk about all the time. SummerSlam going to Detroit. What do they have in Detroit?
Dome. Build it.
It's Peyton Manning.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Build
Like,
a dome.
It's not hard. It's all there for you.
Come on, baby.
Yeah. Absolutely nuts.
SummerSlam.
This from Maurice Jones-Drew on NFL.com, ranking all 75 starting running backs for the 2022 season. He had McCaffrey 1, Eckler 2, Jacobs 3, Henry 4, Chubb 5.
I love Eckler. Don't get me wrong.
I don't know anybody who would you take Eckler over Nick Chubb?
No. I wouldn't take Josh Jacobs or Henry over Nick Chubb either.
No.
Josh Jacobs was very good this year.
By the way, he ranked as top 75 and didn't have Kareem Hunt in there.
Well, he had a rough year this year, Gibbe.
The people further down the list aren't a whole lot better.
All right, let's see.
This was just the top 25 we printed out because we tried to save half a tree today.
Deontay Foreman over Breece Hall. Zeke Elliott over anybody. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, that is.
Dalvin, I feel like, took a little bit of a step back this year.
Yeah.
As well.
Feels like it.
Yeah. Derrick Henry's only in year 7. Derrick Henry's been in the league only 1 year longer than Austin Eckler. And McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook.
He's a year older than Zeke.
Seems like he
was a starting running back.
Starting
running back at Bama in 2014.
Wow.
Yep. All right, a little better or worse coming your way next. You'll see
my.
Cleveland Browns Daily, bet to you by Bally Bet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. medical accident caused your injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk & Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time for a little higher or lower, better or worse. Presented by Keep It Fun Ohio from Ohio Lottery, offering easy ways to keep gambling fun. AP joins us here in studio. Good to see you again, my friend. Hello, Gibbe.
Howdy, boys.
Oh, hello.
Welcome to Tuesday. Welcome to Super Bowl week. Final game of the season.
Yep.
Sad. By the way, so noticeable without real football this weekend. Noticeable and sad.
Yep.
Do you think that they did you prefer it the old way where there wasn't the week between? You just kept going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I mean, it's the hype and
It was just inverted.
that.
So the
Yeah.
Super Bowl would have been last week, the Pro Bowl would have been this week, and then you would have had guys in the Super Bowl could have played in the Pro Bowl.
I think guys who are in the Super Bowl deserve to be in the Pro Bowl. I think the Pro Bowl should have the best of the best.
should just wait.
The Eagles have like 38 guys.
But how many of the guys in the Super Bowl would have still participated in the
Well,
Pro
they
Bowl
used to.
nowadays?
They used to.
They used to do it.
Yeah.
Like there was a time they did it when it was in Honolulu, they would do it.
The great Joe Montana was in many a Pro Bowl.
Yeah, like that was the deal. Like you do it from
did,
there to
yeah.
there, and that was it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
All right, guys. A little higher or lower today. The all-time Super Bowl quarterback.
Okay, what in
Rankings.
the hell is this? Who is? I just
Greg
opened this page.
Rosenthal.
Yeah, you definitely need to read the description.
NFL.com.
I need to know what the parameters are.
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
I had to do that too when I first.
I'm going to read them to you. His annual updated list of Super Bowl starting quarterbacks, which now numbers 66. It's important to note that with regard to players like Unitas and Starr who started Super Bowls but whose peak years came before the Super Bowl era, I considered their entire careers, not just what they did from 66 onward. I ranked all QBs based on their career achievements with regular season excellence, all-pro, Pro Bowl appearances, and seasons as top 5 and top 10 players at the position, carrying more weight than just Super Bowl success.
Okay.
So he
This
took
is an
the
all-time
66
quarterback
quarterbacks
ranking then.
Yeah.
and then compiled their careers and ranked from 1 to 66.
Okay. So I went from looking at this and going, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen," to thinking, "Okay, now it's all right."
Yeah, nope. That's why I needed.
I mean,
I
it's
knew I
better,
needed to
but-
explain it.
You took away my fun line I had. I was going to give a little LeVar Ball. Never lost.
Never lost.
Joe Montana, number 1. Never lost.
Never lost. Steve Young never lost.
Oh, well played.
One.
Undefeated.
One?
He's
What?
one.
Undefeated.
Weird, I don't see him on
He's
here.
a hawk.
Troy Aikman never lost.
I don't see him in the goat pasture.
You got he's in the
Your
second
boy-
category.
your
Can
boy
we get
Troy
down the
Aikman.
list? Can,
Troy
can,
Aikman.
can I can
Never
I give
lost.
you a little
Never
higher or lower
lost.
option?
There are only 2 people that are.
Kevin Arnold, hit
all-time.
the sounder.
Higher or lower?
Johnny Unitas, number 2 on the list. Higher or lower, Zagura? Tom Brady was number 1.
Well, Gibbe, growing up watching Johnny Unitas, I have a real appreciation for his game and what he's able
Now
to
you're going to
do.
disrespect Johnny U.
I would know. I wouldn't put respect on his name. I don't know.
People used to say he was the best, but then people always said Montana was better than Johnny Unitas.
So
So based off that, lower.
here's what I think is interesting is like I remember the Montana, being like as old as my kids were when the Montana Unitas conversation was taking place about the greatest of all time. And
My buddy
it's,
and I have this weekly.
yeah, what I don't remember as much, and we talk about it a lot on this show because it's part of your youth, but I don't remember as much conversation around Montana as there was around Unitas. Like, it doesn't feel like Joe gets brought up around Brady's stuff as much as it felt like Unitas was always hanging over Montana. I never felt like Montana was always hanging over Brady. I think at times almost like Montana has been a forgotten person.
I feel like we're living in different planets.
Yeah.
As someone who is obviously younger here, I agree with Bo. I think Brady's always been number
That is
1
the
as long
worst
as I
thing
can
for your
remember.
argument that
Here
you
we
could have ever
go.
heard him say.
No, I don't. It's not. I'm not making up. This isn't a hot
Yeah.
take. I'm not saying that.
Feels hot.
No.
I
then
also-
you're not hearing it correctly. What I'm saying is, I don't know that there's been as much conversation. It felt like with Montana when he was surpassing and going 4-0 in Super Bowls, that it was always constantly. There was an old timer base who would be like, "Well, he ain't Unitas. He's not Unitas." It was like, "Well, what does he got to take to be him?" And with Brady, I don't remember people like going, well, he's not Montana, or there weren't enough of them. And I think Joe was disrespected a little bit.
My buddy
Janko
Janko just texted me, goes, Montana was a system quarterback, and you know
See,
it.
that's it. Like, you get that type of stuff a lot. And I'll tell you, if you say that, I feel like you didn't watch him play because you never got that feeling watching him play.
Janko.
See, you got triggered before you even heard what I said.
No, I didn't get triggered.
You did.
I was saying that I
had your guys back.
I was probably consuming a lot more Joe Montana content than you were, but that we're always saying that when once he won in '89, when the second two, that's when he was like, now he had surpassed Unitas as the greatest quarterback of all time. There was a while when they would do the rankings where he was the greatest quarterback of all time, and then Brady now beats him, but it was always Unitas and Montana. I think that Montana also has for this
Higher or lower?
Has kind of laid out of the spotlight per se.
He's laid out of the spotlight for almost 20 years.
Doesn't do anything.
We don't see him. We haven't seen him.
Whereas Unitas still has the old timers who are still like Unitas. Like my dad is somebody who is very critical, as you all know, and would have experience with both. And he was always Unitas, and then he turned to Joe, and then now he would say Brady.
Well, and the other thing that happened is from that era, those Unitas guys, they had sports writers who turned them into mythical creatures,
right? Yeah.
And that wasn't there aren't those type of jobs anymore.
No.
Like, who's the Dick Shapp who did that for Montana the last 10 years?
Right.
There hasn't been anybody doing that. Like, people did that for that generation of player. Like, they stood up and pounded fists and said they were better. Trust me when I tell you that. There aren't those people anymore.
By the way, to your point, this whole thing, Hall of Hall, Deion's all fired up about. If you're a first ballot Hall of Famer, that to me separates you from. They're the first ballot Hall of Famers, and then they're Hall of Famers.
Right.
That's the Hall within the Hall.
Yeah.
So just relax. You're first ballot Hall of Famer. You're good.
Poisel, this one for you.
Yeah.
According to Rosenthal, 1 Brady, 2 Unitas, 3 Montana. Number 4 is Peyton Manning in terms of the 66 Super Bowl quarterbacks. He ranks Peyton Manning number 4. Higher, lower, or just right? Dan Marino's at number 5, Aaron Rodgers at number 6, and Brett Favre at number 7.
Yeah, when you rank him above those 4 or 3 other quarterbacks, I think it's just right at number 4. And I think you could make the argument maybe he's deserves a spot at number 3, but I mean he's right up there with Brady, Unitas, Montana, and then I feel like Marino, Rodgers, Favre is all a tier lower. I feel like Manning's kind of on his own little tier in this group of 7 quarterbacks.
I know we're not talking about we're not basing this off. We're basing this off of his entire career. Peyton Manning was not good in 1 Super Bowl. I know he won one, but was he really good? I'm asking because I don't remember the numbers in it.
He was the greatest regular season quarterback
of all
in the
time.
history of the league.
Correct.
Yeah.
He is. He held at the time of his retirement. He held every passing record at the time of the league, while playing the majority of his career before it got crazy with passing. Right. So all of that, I would have him 3rd. I would go Brady, Montana, Manning would be the 3 I would go in that order.
Same.
Can't argue that.
This is where the list I think just gets confusing as far as how the rankings matter here, because what Bo said, I think it is 3, and are we talking just about how he played at a Super Bowl, or is this ultimate quarterback rankings, or what?
Poisel, did you not listen?
It's also like how much. I mean, he was the offensive coordinator in Indy.
Yeah, and in Denver,
they won a Super Bowl with wasn't it Dungy the one time, and then he got into another one with Jim Caldwell, and then he got him to the Super Bowl with the Broncos with
John Fox,
and then won one with John Fox when he couldn't throw. Yeah, I think
the all-time game, I always like to do it in that, and that could be the Hall within the Hall. They could have 2 rosters, and if you're on those rosters, that represents the best of all time. Tom Brady starting for sure. Montana might be starting, but if he's not, Peyton's starting.
Yeah.
But Montana and Unitas are probably in the game, and then you could start to argue, is it Marino, is it Rodgers? I don't think it's Favre.
No, I don't
I'm
either.
surprised
Favre's way too high on this. And the next, so's number 8, honestly. So Elway should be way higher.
Elway should be way higher. Elway should be in the 1st tier.
Yeah. Elway, I'd have Elway 5.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. Higher or lower?
And that takes us to tier number 2 in Greg Rosenthal's rankings. He's got Steve Young 8, John Elway 9, Mahomes 10, Staubach 11, Drew Brees 12, Bart Starr 13. Bishop, what stands out to you?
Elway. It's incredible disrespect
be in the
for
top
him.
10.
Elway should be 5. I would have him ahead of Marino, Rodgers, Favre, all of them. He
Horseface.
drug 3 Broncos teams to the Super Bowl in the 80s. God knows we lived it, right? And then they got drilled. Like, compare the talent on those teams to the Giants team they played, the 49ers team they played, the Redskins teams they played. And then he had this second renaissance with Terrell Davis where they were great. And they were they were so dominant that second year when they beat the Falcons the second time, when the Falcons upset the Vikings in 98.
Chris Chandler.
Yeah.
The Dirty Birds.
That was a squad,
Yes.
man.
Elway
should
in
be
here.
5 on this list.
You should be, I'd put him ahead of Marino. I have no problem with that. And Mahomes has the chance, win this one, continue doing what he's doing. Mahomes ultimately is going to end up in this goat pasture and in the conversation for being in that game.
So if he wins this one, how much farther up does he move?
It's just so short. I mean, honestly, he should be, if he wins this one, he should be ahead of Steve Young.
Oh, for sure.
I'll tell you that.
Let me tell you something. 5 years, 5 AFC championships is insane.
Yeah.
I was curious what you guys where you guys thought Mahomes landed on this list and where he would go if he won this one.
I mean, it's just accumulation. So, like, he doesn't have the career accumulation that Rodgers and Favre does. Favre is way too high on this list. Way too high. But Mahomes is a comet. So it's just a matter of, can he play 15 years?
Yep.
Next.
Higher or lower?
All right, I want to get into the next page, which takes us through the top 25 QBs. Just some of the guys that stand out. Big Ben is number 15. Troy Aikman, 16. Bradshaw, 17. Bradshaw's 4-0 in the Super Bowls.
Yeah, that was
Joe Namath, 18th.
quite different.
Jim Kelly went 0-4. He's 21st. Kurt Warner, 22. Russell Wilson is 25. Zagura, we'll